Good Yantif, everybody. It is Tisha B'Av, and it's not typical to say Good Yantif, but we are taught that in the future, when the third Beis HaMikdash will be here, Tisha B'Av will become one of the Yamim Tovim. So here we are on Tisha B'Av, and we start to question ourselves and ask, why is the third Beis HaMikdash not here yet? Why is Moshiach not here yet? And we read Kinnis, and we're fasting, and we're sitting on the floor, and we're trying to keep kosher, and we're building yeshivos and communities and shuls. And we ask ourselves, are we prepared? And how can we bring Moshiach faster? You know, the Torah tells us that Moshiach is going to come be'ita ba'achishena. Be'ita in its time, and achishena, it can be hastened. And this is actually a paradox. Be'ita means it will come in its right time when it's ready. And achishena, we can hurry it up. We have the ability to hurry it up. So the Gemara actually explains that be'ita is imlo zachu, if we are not zoche, if we're not ready or prepared, or if we don't merit it enough, it'll come in its time. However, im zachu, if we deserve it, then it will come in its right time. So how do we understand this paradox? And how could it be that these two could actually happen at the same time? Because it says that Hashem wants it to happen be'ita and anachishena, at its right time and hastened. So how do we understand this? So in order for us to have these two together, we have to understand what ita means and what achishena means. So ita means in its time. Now what is time? Time is very relative, right? Time is something that we tend to think like, oh, right now it's 1:30 on a Monday, and then in 1 minute is going to be 1:31 on a Monday, right? But in essence, Hashem is mechadish b'chol yom tov. Every single moment and every single day, Hashem is recreating this moment. You know, we think this table is here, and it was here yesterday, and it's going to be here tomorrow. And this chair was here today, and it's going to be here tomorrow. But in essence, Hashem is really recreating every single moment. The sun that rose this morning is not necessarily the same sun that rises tomorrow. You know, we can think about this, like a metaphor for this would be how like old school cartoons were created. Nowadays, everything is digital and things are done on a computer. But back in the day, and I used to get these actually in like cereal boxes, these little books that had pictures of like Mickey Mouse and his friends, right? So there was one page of Mickey Mouse with all his friends. And then in order for the cartoon to look like it was moving, it was in this little flip book where every single sketch was sketched out of like Mickey Mouse moving one leg this way and one leg that way and one leg this way. And then when you flipped it, it looked like it was a moving picture. That's actually how this world is. Every single moment in time is its own sketch, its own page. And as we flip through that, that's how it seems that time is moving. We're transitioning from one page to another. And that's really how it feels like we're living our life. The Arizal explains actually that when Hashem created the world, He created all the pages that were going to be from the beginning of time to the end of time. All the good days, all the bad days, all the calm days, all the destructive, terrible days, all the wars. Everything was created at once, but it was created in this, what we refer to as tohu vavohu, in a chaotic, blemished, traumatic sense. There were just pages and pages and pages that were crumbled up in a bag, and every single day, in order for Hashem to create the world that we have now, every day Hashem stuck His hand into the bag, pulled out one of those crumpled pages, flattened it out, and that became day one. And that's actually how, when Hashem first created the world, He created this tohu vavohu, and then He began to create day one, day two, day three. So when He said Vayihi Ar, He stuck His hand into the bag, pulled out one of those pages, flattened it out, and then was able to move on to the next page. Day two, day three, day four. Now Hashem perfected it like just so that there were still some imperfections and still some blemishes, so that we were able to be partners with Hashem to fix every single day. So every day we have an opportunity to fix that day, to fix that moment, and then we can slowly start to turn the page. Chaos for the the Yetzer Hara, it's his favorite thing. He loves chaos. He loves when things are disrupted and when things are messed up and things are crumbled up into a bag. And, if we order and time would be 11 o'clock, 11:01, 11:02, chaos would be, right now 1:45 on Monday, and then in the next moment it would be 2:30 on a Tuesday or Wednesday in 1840. That's where chaos is, and that's what the Yetzer Hara thrives on. He loves that. And all that chaos is in that bag, and we need to actually pull those out, straighten them out so that we can have some order, and that's really what time is. So Hashem is going into the craziness. He goes into that messed up bag and slowly but surely pulls out all the material that we need in order to correct time, in order to perfect time, in order to bring Moshiach. And what we're doing as Yidden, we're shutvim. We're partners with Hashem to create this process to bring us into this zone of Mashiach. So it's not that like Mashiach will be able to come before then. No, if Mashiach is in chapter 7, we need to complete chapters 1 through 6, and then we can enter this era and this time period of Mashiach. So the concept of Mashiach coming be'ita is Mashiach is this new era, it's this new time zone that we can enter, but we need to go through all the pages. And you can only move into that era when you hit all the right pages. So Hashem says, Mashiach isn't a prize for you being good. Mashiach it's like we said, it's this new era. We are going to enter it as soon as we're ready. We have to get through all those pages. It requires time, and it will happen be'ita. Every page isn't the same. By the way, not necessarily is every page a full day. A page could be a few years. Some are very different than others. And this actually changes our concept of time. We think of time, as something that's very set and steady and it's always here. And no, time is something that we need to actually work on. So if this is be'ita, how can we understand Achishena? What is Achishena? So Achishena is like, I want it to come faster. So we're at the Shabbos table, and the second we start the Shabbos table, my little daughter is like, I want dessert. And I'm like, no, we have to first have the fish, and then we have the salads, and then we have the soup, and then we have the meat, and then we can get dessert. She's like, but I want dessert now. Every Shabbos, it's somebody else's birthday party, and she wants to bring it out, and she wants to serve ice cream. So Achishena, in a sense, would be like, fine, you want ice cream during that course? You could have dessert now. Is that really what Achishena is? And how does Achishena come? So now that we are in Galus and we want to bring Geula faster, right? Because Be'ita would take a very long time for us to get through those 6 chapters. So what's another way of bringing Mashiach a little bit faster than having to go through the whole meal and all 3 courses of a Friday night dinner? So that would actually be to go into the bag itself, to go into the belly of the beast, to go into that chaos, and you start reorganizing it on your own. Who's an example of somebody that did that? In Navi, we know the story of Yonah. Yonah, he went into the belly of the beast. He went into that gourmet glatt bag of all those crumpled up papers and all the mistakes that ever were and was, and he began to straighten out things on his own. And when he was spit out from the whale, he brought out with him a bunch of organized, stacked papers. A lot of the tzaddikim actually tried to do this. They tried to put themselves in situations where they were able to speed up the geula and to make it happen faster by doing the things that they did, to be mitaking certain things. Adam and Chava actually tried this. They were in Gan Eden, they were in paradise, and everything was good. And what did they do? They chose to eat from the tree to bring the Yetzer Hara inside of them so that they can be mitaking things faster, perhaps. Although it didn't work. Moshe also, he tried to hit the rock so that he could bring about Geula faster, but that wasn't able to work. And what we realize is that in order for that to happen, in order for Achishena to happen, it has to be through the support and the help of Hashem. So for example, Avraham was told, Lech Lecha. Hashem told him, you go down, and when you go down and you're mitaking whatever you need to do in Mitzrayim, and in your new place and wherever you are, you're able to come out B'Rechush Gadol. So when we do it with the support and the instructions of Hashem, we are actually able to go about it. So one of the major kinnis that we read on Tisha B'Av are people dying al Kiddush Hashem. Recently, a kinnah for the Holocaust was added, right? And we read stories of people who walked into gas chambers and they were singing an imamim, and people who were in the concentration camps who gave up their lives al Kiddush Hashem. Those are people who actually did do the job of going into the belly of the beast and bringing out a tikkun by doing that. Because by them going in to the deep, darkest recesses of the beast, of the Nazis, of the Cossacks, of the people who are, of Amalek, whoever was fighting against us, they were able to hasten the Moshiach through their blood, through being, giving up their lives al Kiddush Hashem. But that's difficult. They went into the lowest places, and then when they were vomited out, when they came out from there, they were able to emerge with a neshama that was able to go straight to Shemayim. So they were able to hasten the page by page by page of turning the pages. But the question is, how do we fix those moments without bloodshed, without having to let the Yetzer Hara come and overtake us? And throughout that Mesiras Nefesh of giving up their lives, how are we able to emerge with treasures? How can we come out of Yetzer Hara land without having to go through dinim and difficulties? So one of them would be, like we said, to do Averos Lishma, which seems like Adam and Chava tried to do, and Moshe tried to do, but that didn't work because they needed Hashem's support. So how do we go about this approach where we want to hasten it, we want to bring it faster, but we want it to be both. We want it to be Be'ita and Achishana. So in order for this to happen, we turn to Rav Tzadok. Rav Tzadok explains that there are two ways to do Teshuvah. There is Teshuvah Me'ira, and then there's Teshuvah Me'ahava. And doing Teshuvah from Yira, a perfect example of this would be Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik was in the belly of the beast. He was in Mitzrayim. He had very difficult circumstances, and he was living in the house of Potiphar, living with Eshes Potiphar. And what ends up happening is that Eshes Potiphar tries to run after him, and it says, Vayanas Vayara Tachutza, and he ran away from it. He did what we call Teshuvah Me'ira. He did not want to partake in this Avera, and he ran away. And by the way, because he ran away, he merited to have the Yamsuf run away. It says that when they brought the Atzmos of Yosef, they brought the bones of Yosef to the Yamsuf when they had to cross it, it says that the water split immediately and ran away. So that's one way of doing Teshuvah. There's another way of doing Teshuvah by doing Teshuvah like Yehuda, like David HaMelech, like Nachshon ben Aminadav, who's from the Shevet of Yehuda. What did he do? He jumped into the Yamsuf, and he walked and walked and walked until it was up to his neck, and then the water split. And that's the difference between the Teshuvah of Yosef and the Teshuvah of Yehuda. The Teshuvah of Yosef is you see something's wrong, and you run away from it, and you continue to turn the pages, and you can live a life of Be'ita as Yosef HaTzadik. However, the story of Yehuda and the story of David HaMelech is that of a Baal Teshuvah, where he recognizes that, yes, he's in a position where he may have made mistakes, but he's going to use those mistakes to propel himself forward, to become a better person from the mistakes that he's made. I'm going to use that part of me as jet fuel to make a Kiddush Hashem. And that's where Teshuvah Me'ahava comes from. The tzaddik, he loves Hashem. He's always with Hashem. And if he's faced with something bad, he will turn away from it. The idea of the Baal Tshuva is that he has blemishes, and he uses those mistakes to lead a better and stronger life and to push himself forward, and kind of sifting through that bag and unwrapping those crumpled up papers of Tohu Vavohu and perfecting them so that he can enter a period of Mashiach faster. Now, when we said before, we said that Achishena could come with blood, right? With dying al Kiddush Hashem, making mistakes, sacrificing yourself. The blood that we refer to here, Rav Tzadok explains from Teshuvah Me'ahava, is actually the blood of the Baal Tshuva himself that's boiling, that wants to get him out of that situation, that wants to recognize that, yes, he's made mistakes, and he's going to use those mistakes to propel himself forward. So you can choose to run away from Eshes Potiphar. You can choose to do Teshuvah Me'ira, which is one way, and that's the Mahalach of the Tzaddikim. And they lived their lives in that way. They were able to turn the pages. They were going through. There was nothing too scary from them. When anything too scary came, they would fix it run away and turn the page. The Baal Teshuva says, get me out of here, get me out of here. I've experienced difficulties, I've done wrong things, get me out of here. He's in survival mode, and he's uncrumbling those papers, and he's moving it along faster, and that is the concept of Achishena. A tzaddik is be'ita. Galus doesn't bother me so much, I can handle it, I'm going to run away from bad situations. And the Baal Teshuva says, Achishena, I'm done, I'm ready to move on. The Teshuvah of David HaMelech was finding a system where within myself, I can find my own mistakes. I'm in the belly of the beast. I may be even the beast itself. I may have made those mistakes that are so tremendous, but I am ready to get out of here. And things are going to have to happen much quicker because ain't nobody got time for that. I'm ready to move on. So the concept of Moshiach coming, the paradox that we had in the beginning was Be'ita and Achishena. And how can it be that it happens in its time, but it's also hastened? And that's the generation that we're living in right now. We're living in a generation of tzaddikim and Baal Teshuvas coming closer and closer to Hashem. And we have both. And we're kind of setting ourselves up for the most incredible situation. We're going to be doing things Be'ita. We are going to run away from all the bad. But also, when we did do bad, we're not going to be disheartened. We're going to take that bad and we're going to use it as jet fuel to propel ourselves forward to faster to that era of Moshiach. And may this coming year be the year of Geula, be a year that we see Moshiach coming in both manners, Be'ita and Achishena.